Live with Simon Chris Makanga. Friends, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. If it's your very first time here, please kindly go ahead and subscribe, like, and then later on, towards the end of the conversation, you can give us your candid comment. If you have always been part of this conversation, if you're part of this community, and you still resonate with what we do, transforming followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change, that is our objective. Please come through. Let's have a conversation. And if you want to support in any way, please still come through. Let's have a conversation. Our special guest tonight is one person that I love her energies. Woo!
But Amamuchiga, what would you expect? Anyway, let me not enter your introduction.
Just like you can see. Hey. Just like you can see. Before I'm done with my introduction,
here,
I truly love the energies. And we're going to have a conversation about leadership. We're going to have a conversation about life. We're going to have a conversation about non-profit. We're going to have a conversation about this amazing book. Whew! Facing Mountains. Our special guest is extremely amazing, Jacqueline Asimwe. It's a big pleasure to have you on this conversation.
Thank you so much, Chris.
And thank you so much for honoring my invitation.
And I'm so sorry it took us a long time. I know we've been trying to make this happen for a while. Apologies.
I am a believer. I always believe that God's timing is always the best.
Indeed.
And this is the moment.
It was supposed to happen today. Yes.
In Uganda,
this is the day. This is the day.
That the Lord has made.
Amina.
Jacqueline, it's a pleasure to have you once again.
Thank you.
You gave us this amazing book. Mm-hmm. You're living your purpose.
Can I hear an amen?
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
How did you come up with this book? Why did you write it? Facing Mountains.
So, Chris, why do you have a podcast?
Why do I have a podcast?
Yeah.
You know when you're having a conversation with a curious person,
No.
And don't make me believe that it was intentional for you to be that side, because I usually sit that side and my guests usually sit this side.
The spirits of the chair are
lifting you up.
Warming this up. No, and I ask because...
Okay, let me tell you why I started this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I believe everybody has a story.
See?
I believe that the difference between me and you, there are some disciplines involved. The difference between you and somebody above you, there are disciplines involved. The difference between me and somebody below me, there are disciplines involved. There are things I do that I need to teach them so that they can get to where I am.
Yes.
The reason as to why you are where you are, there are people who are below you. So they ought to learn from you so that they can get to where you are.
As I also learn.
Yes, that's why we believe in transforming followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. So you are the point where you are an agent of change. Coming up with an amazing book. Man.
So my reason is almost similar to yours, because everybody does have a story. And so I'm a passionate believer in African stories also. I'm a passionate believer in women telling their stories. And so for me, it was a combination of those two things, that because we are blessed with stories, we need to tell them. And I also say that not everybody will write a book, which is fine. Some podcast, some do their storytelling through fashion, through art, through videography and photography, right? There are so many ways to tell stories.
True.
The issue is tell it because you have one.
True. You know, let me tell you something before we kick off this conversation. How this whole thing started. Me and my wife, we go for a vacation in Jinja. Then I walked out of the room just to catch the breath. Then I spoke to the security guard. He was holding a gun. Then I asked him, how would you feel when you have a gun? He said, I feel like I'm in prison.
Oh.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody has a story. This is an amazing story. I thought I was secure. But the gentleman with the gun feels like he's in prison. I'm like, ooh, everybody has a story.
We truly do.
So, Jacqueline, you're doing quite amazing things.
In fact, Chris, just to correct you, I think everybody has many stories. Yeah. Because I think when we write a book or there's also the temptation to bracket it into one. But I think everybody has stories, and we are constantly an evolving story.
True.
Yeah.
Because as we live, we are creating stories.
Yeah.
You've done quite a number of things. You're the founder of a Sieve Source, an organization where you're helping nonprofits. You're telling people stories as you do your walking.
Yes.
You're living your amazing life, man. I watch your videos on LinkedIn. I'm like, wait a minute. This lady is enjoying the walk. She's doing exercise.
Yes.
She's telling people stories, and she's learning from them.
Yes, I
Let's
am.
first speak to the book.
Yes.
Facing Mountains. What happened? What was running in your mind?
So Facing Mountains is my story of climbing 6 physical mountains. I've actually climbed mountains, so it's not just a figure of speech.
Okay.
I've actually climbed 6 mountains in East Africa. And so it's partly the stories of those climbs.
Okay.
But then I also use mountains as a figure of speech for the mountains or hardships that we climb in our life. And you may never climb a physical mountain as Chris, but I'm sure that you will resonate with, climbing a mountain when you're facing a challenge.
Yeah.
And we go through them, all of us. And so I intersperse the stories of the physical mountains with some of my stories of the figurative mountains that I've faced
in life.
Yeah.
So what was really, really bothering you?
What was
Especially with the life mountains.
Well, and so like I said, I pick from my life story. At some point, one of the mountains that I faced as a young girl was lack of self-confidence, because I had come from being top of my class in Canada, like being first all the time. And then I come to Uganda, primary 5 at Buganda Road, and suddenly I feel like I am the most foolish of fools. Like I know nothing. And part of it was just different education systems. So what we were learning there was not what we were learning
from
here.
what you're learning
so
here.
By the time I came out of that mountain of just feeling like the dumbest kid on the block, it took a lot. I had to repeat my P7. So going through all of that and facing that mountain of thinking I was smart, then jumping into a space where I think I'm dumb, into building up the confidence again to say, no, you're actually smart. It was just, so that was one of the mountains that I talk about. Mountains like starting an organization, right?
Sieve Source.
It's not easy, and just being caught up in what was it like? What was I feeling? What was that mountain like? Of course, I don't tell the totality. And in fact, I'm hoping maybe my next book will be about how I built Sieve Source, like to go into that detail. But yeah, I talk about some of that, the mountains that people face trying to build an organization, an institution. What other mountains do I reference? Mountains of self-comparison, right? At some point, I didn't even think this was story enough, and that's in and of itself is a mountain, because we get into comparison. Like, I've only climbed mountains in East Africa. People have climbed mountains all across this continent. People have climbed Everest several times, moreover. You've only climbed a few mountains. What is that a story? And so not only comparing, but then diminishing what I have done, right? And so I write about that mountain too, the mountain of comparison.
So what happens when you open your own book? What comes into your mind?
I think there's still the feeling of awe and gratitude. Like, there's actually a book on some shelf somewhere that has my name. Like, it's still mind-blowing to me. It's very, very humbling at the same time. And especially, like you said, when I see people commenting, or I bought your book, or they send me pictures, here I am with your book, or somebody was at a conference recently and sent me a picture of someone reading my book. Someone sent me a picture of their mother. So it's just like, I don't even know how to express it, Chris. Just the vast, abundant humility I feel that someone would buy it and read it. Because as a book buyer and a book reader, I think I'm now more appreciative of the fact that, yes, sometimes, and truly, sometimes I do buy books with every intention of reading them. Then I keep them somewhere. I will one day get to them. And then there are those, of course, that I actually buy. So whatever the reason they've bought my book, just the fact that they walked into a store or ordered it online, I've just received it as an amazing gift for me.
From the
this
comments
year.
I have read, Jacqueline, honestly speaking, we need to tell the people where to get this book. It's a must read for everybody. Friends, this is an amazing book. I've read the comments on LinkedIn, over 50 comments. And everyone is recommending this amazing book. That's the reason as to why I'm going to read it. So where do they find it?
So in all the major bookstores in Uganda. In Kampala, sorry, not in Uganda, in Kampala, as well as online with Mahiri Books, with
Mahiri Books.
Yes, Africa Writers Trust, with FemWrite. But yeah, major bookstores like Aristoc, Book Point in Bugolobi, Uganda Bookstore. I believe there are some also at the museum. Yeah, so anywhere that a book is available in Kampala City. They are also, if you're traveling in Nairobi, Somanami Books. If you're traveling in South Africa, one of the exclusives has my books. In Malawi, recently, a gentleman has my book in his bookstore, and I need to remember the bookstore. Where else? Rwanda, in Kigali, there's also a bookstore, but I have forgotten, and I hope it doesn't.
And recently you were in South Africa speaking about the same book.
Yes,
you're doing amazingly well.
No, it's been, that's the other thing that I could never could I ever. And I did my vision board this year in January, and one of the things that one of the pictures that I cut out was in relation to launching my book. And because I've been in this community where when people do launch books, it's a one launch and you're done. So that's the image I had. But at the same time, I had also watched Dr. Gladys Kalema do tour upon tour with her book, Walking with Gorillas. So I aspired, but I didn't know how she did it. And so when I launched my book and started then reaching out, it was because I saw that somebody else had done it, and I'm like, yeah, maybe you could do more than one launch. You could introduce it to more than one community. And so, just door upon door has opened in amazing ways.
Interesting.
Just like this one. So thank you so much for having me.
Interesting. It's a pleasure. Now we're going to have a conversation still about so many great things.
Yes.
You're a leadership coach. And that resonates with the objective of this conversation.
Yes.
What's the difference between a good leader and a bad leader?
Wow. How much time do we have? What's the difference between a good leader and a bad leader? I mean, thousands of books have been written, right, about leadership. So that there tells you how important the subject of leadership is.
Yeah.
And I think, in my view, a bad leader would be one who thinks leadership is an arrival lounge, because you never arrive. And so a good leader is one who is constantly aware that they are not yet there.
It's always demanding for more.
It is demanding. You have to learn. You have to unlearn, relearn. I know we use these three words now as a cliche, but truly, a leader is a lifelong learner, period. I think the day you stop learning is the day hopefully you should stop leading. And we learn in many ways, right? Through conversation, through reading books, through listening to podcasts, through listening to those that you lead, through communion and community with other leaders, through coaching, submitting to a coach, through mentorship. Like there's so many, through self-reflection, right? So I think for me, that is what distinguishes a good leader and a bad leader. And to your point also, I think a leader with a sense of purpose is also good, because then the job of a leader is to take people somewhere.
True.
And you can't take them there if purpose, I think,
there.
is the road to take you there. So a good leader does need to have purpose. If you're just sort of going all over the place, directionless, then you're not really a good leader. So if I were to summarize it truly, that would be the two things. And maybe finally, maybe a good leader also is one who knows when they can no longer lead.
Is that moment there?
I think so, because and this is what I mean, that maybe your next leadership place is somewhere else, right? That's what I'm meaning, that maybe for this time you've given all that you had for this space, and either it has outgrown you or you've outgrown it.
You either need to elevate.
Yes. Yeah. So I think constantly being aware that I came to do what I came to do, and it is done, and I've finished well. You know, as Paul the Apostle said, finish well is what I'm saying. But there is a point of finishing and letting others lead, but also going to lead somewhere else.
Wow, interesting. Let's speak to some disciplines. I've always said this on this podcast,
Yes.
that let me give you in terms of a business or entrepreneurship. The difference between a successful business and a struggling business. The difference between a successful person and the person is still thriving, there are disciplines involved in between. Let's speak to some disciplines in terms of leadership. The difference between a good leader and a bad leader. Okay, maybe a bad or struggling leader.
Yes, a leader who is going to get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are disciplines involved. Let's speak to some of the disciplines. What really, I'm sure this is a language that you speak to the people you mentor or the people that you speak to.
Hopefully.
Let's speak to some disciplines.
Yes. Wow. There's so many, and it can range from how you manage your morning. Because they say the morning is what sets you off for the day, right?
Yeah.
And so right there in those first few moments of your waking as a leader, those are some of the things that will distinguish you.
How your day is going to be.
Yes, how do you manage your morning? Morning management is very, very crucial. And I think also how you wind down your day, right?
Okay.
How do you lift off the plane and how do you land it?
Land.
Because cruising we can all get there. But you know that there are liftoffs, there are takeoffs that are, and there are landings that are terrible.
Yeah.
So as a leader, what is your morning ritual? And different people have different things, but what are you clear what your purpose is that day? What are your goals are? Your wins. Are you clear of your wins that day? Some meditate, have a moment of quiet, either inner reflection or religious reflection, whatever that may be. For some, it's very important that we make time for exercise, right? So what are your morning rituals? Because how you begin your day will determine how you run your day.
How it's going to end.
Yeah. And then I think for me, the other is time, guys. The thing that breaks my heart is how you beg leaders to be on time. Like, guys. Like, anyway, I don't know how to, and I know I get into the struggle between, yes, but Africans read and experience time differently. Granted, I totally understand that. At the same time, because time is one of the things we steward as leaders.
True.
How are you stewarding
your time? To be honest, Madam Jacqueline, I'm not yet there.
Hey,
when it comes to time management, I must admit.
What?
I must admit, I am also struggling.
Yeah.
But it's something I have considered to be intentional. To manage my time, respect other people's time.
Yeah.
I am being intentional on this. And what I've come to realize is that I've found myself letting some people go off my life because some people do not understand.
Yeah.
If somebody wants me on a certain time that I'm not available, and if you say no, some people will not understand. But after reading and resonating with some people, especially leaders that have made it in life, one unique factor that is common with them is time management.
It is, because time is a very big resource for a leader, right?
True.
You have only a certain number of hours within which, again, going back to your morning ritual, those goals that you set have only, like, imagine that you only had today. So as you're wasting all this time, and maybe part of the reason we don't even steward time well is we assume that it's So, and that's the strange thing about time, is both infinite and not. We have a lot of it and we don't have a lot of it. So I think a good leader in terms of discipline masters what time means. And time may be different for your season. Time may be different for the work that you're doing as a business, right? But understand what time means in relation to the thing you are leading,
Okay.
and to yourself as a leader.
Okay.
I think is a very big discipline for me. I think the other discipline that I would hope leaders have is reading.
Reading.
And I would be very embarrassed. Sometimes I know people are very quick to boast how the last time they read was the last time they did an exam, and I'm like, if you're a leader, please don't say it.
Talk about it,
Just
Jacqueline.
it's okay. Keep quiet. We want to know, but don't say. Don't boast about the fact that you do not read as a leader, because law of the lid, Maxwell says that you cannot lead your team above your lid.
Okay.
So, and part of your lid is your knowledge lid, right? And so if you want to be the thing that you're leading to grow, to be better, to expand, to improve, you must be reading. You must be a leader that reads. Then you're increasing the lid, and therefore the expansiveness of the people on the things that over which you're leading. So leaders, please don't boast about not reading. Keep quiet about it, but also learn to read.
True.
Yeah.
Because one thing I've come to realize, the goodness or one of the biggest achievements of reading, you can never be the same.
Not at all. Actually,
in terms
it changes
of reasoning,
you. Yes.
This is what I've come to realize.
Yes.
In terms of reasoning, even when you're before people, you can never miss what to speak.
Yeah.
You'll always have what to say.
Yeah.
Because, amen, if somebody has read your book, that is information withdrawn from you, and I'm consuming. I can never be left the same. So I absolutely agree with you. Let's go to the fourth one.
The fourth one. I think the others are big ones. Like, what is your discipline around people?
People.
And for those that I lead, I often tell them that what I'm watching out for is not how you treat me, because I'm your boss, you have to be kind. Not always, but I will watch out for how you treat the people who you don't have to treat well. So how are you treating the gate man? How are you treating the welfare officer? How are you treating those we call because that will tell me about you. So beyond the HR and feedback, and for me it is, how are you treating people
below you?
Yeah.
Interesting. One other thing, let me add on the fifth one. Then we go to something else.
Yes.
Mentorship. Mentorship. I think one of the things that we miss out as leaders, we think, I go back to what you said first. We think that we have it all, and we fail to subject ourselves to mentorship. You need to be under someone's feet to nurture you.
Yeah. And so some people have called that, do you have your own? So there's having a board of directors, a formal one for your company, so good governance, but do you have your own personal board of directors, those that will speak truth to you, those that will teach
you?
Yes.
True.
And those that will build you. Yeah.
Now let's speak to one thing I love the most.
Yes.
Walk, talk, connect.
Oh, I thought we were going to dance.
How I wish we could do that.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
I watched the first clip of yours. You've done over 300.
Yes.
You've worked with over 300 people.
So there are, yes, over 300. And this is how I always explain it. So the number of people are way over 300 because when I work with a couple, I count it as a walk. I don't count the number of people. So I've done 331 or 32 walks, but the number of people could well be over 400. Because my biggest group has been about 20 people. I did a team of about 11. I've done several couples, several pairs. Yeah, so in that 300, it's not 300 individuals. It's more.
What? How did that come into your mind?
Wow. So,
Walk, talk, connect.
Purpose. That I, first of all, like I said, what is your morning ritual? I knew that I needed to move my body. After a time, I just lost the motivation for exercise. So I became generally a couch potato. I was just not doing anything. But again, you always know what you know, right? That knowledge and awareness. And so I was scrolling, I don't know whether it was Twitter streets or whatever streets I was on. I saw an advert for Activate Uganda.
Okay.
It is a group that that encourages daily activity. And theirs is you either walk or run 3 kilometers as a minimum per day. And you can choose the challenge you do, either 100 days, some do 365 days, some do 1,000 kilometers. It's up to you, choose. But just know that every day you're required to move. And we have a platform where we are accountable, where you post your walk stats. So I started Activate Uganda on 1st September 2022. And since then, I have walked so once I had the consistency.
22nd September.
No, 1st September
2022. And you have walked with over 300 people.
No. So now Walk, Talk, Connect started last year. June, what was it now? Ooh, how can I forget? 2020.
So if it started last year and you've walked with over 300, do you walk every day?
So I walk every day, right? Remember that I came from, when I'm in Activate, already I'm walking every day.
Every day?
Every day, without fail.
So how would you meet the people you work with?
So
do you plan?
So now, when I got consistent with the exercise, I said, now what else can I do? Because what can I add? So I had a conversation with Joseph Beyanga, who does long walks for road safety.
Joe Walker.
Joe Walker. Yes, so I met him and like you and your friend, I have this idea, and he said, start already. In fact, next Friday, I am booking you for. So I was like, but wait, I'm not yet ready. First Friday. He said, no. So I spoke to him, and I spoke to another friend of mine, Professor Moyo Becky, who is a Zimbabwean living in South Africa. So he runs, and he commits his runs for amplifying organizations that work around sexual and gender-based violence. So that's his thing, right? And so both of their advice was, if you want to do it, great idea, but do something that you want. Because I thought, should I join Joe? Road safety, yes, is a thing I like, but it's not a passion. So I thought to myself, I like talking, I like meeting people, let's do it. And when it actually started as Fridays with Jackie, because I thought I would lend one of my days to meeting with a person. And then Afri, the singer, was my first walker that day, and I posted her picture, and then I literally, in the beginning, it was advertising, hey guys, I'm walking again this Friday, who wants to walk? And then it soon started picking up, and at some point I was so oversubscribed that I had to walk every day. First it was Friday, then it became Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The numbers kept growing. Then it became Monday to Monday to Monday. And that's how it has arrived at the 300 and something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So my curiosity.
Yes.
How do you meet these people? Do you make appointments?
Yeah. So for most people book the walk through any of the social media platforms that I'm on. So either X or Instagram or LinkedIn. They'll be in my inbox and say, I'd like to walk with you. So I, with my executive assistant, she helps me to compile all the names, and then we go ticking off. And then how I do it is, I have space tomorrow. I call you up. Are you able to walk tomorrow? If it's yes, where do we meet and what time? And let's go.
Isn't it costly? If a person is in Muyenga and you're in...
I stay in Nalia, so we try and figure out the nearest point to us, yes. Sometimes I'll drive to you if I have the time, but most times it's us trying to figure out where we can both meet that's comfortable for either side.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I love what you do, honestly speaking, Madam
Yeah,
Jackie.
yeah.
First, you're a storyteller. I see the story element
Yes,
in
yes,
that.
yes,
Because
yes,
after
yes.
the walk, as you're talking, these are strangers you're meeting for the very
Yes,
first
yes,
time.
yes.
But then it appears like you've known each other for a long time. That's why I said, I love your energies.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And then after that, you go and you give us a blog.
Yes,
you
I
write
sit
for us
down
what
and-
you
yeah,
have talked
yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
I love that element.
Yeah.
It brings us to
and
get
it
to know.
grew. I didn't even start this with the assumption that I would tell the story. I don't even know how it started. Sometimes I want to run away from it. Like, can't I just post
Please
the picture
don't.
and we
Please don't.
But going back to disciplines, I'm like, as a leader, I want to be able to write well. So if this is what is going to give me the discipline to learn how to write, and so these days what I even force myself to do is, how can I tell the story of Makanga different, so that because also for people to keep following the stories, you have to tell them in a different way, right? Yes, maybe it's already different because each character is different. Each person, I'm working with a new person every day. But it's always for me, how do I tell the story differently? How do I, what is my beginning? How can I enter? How can I, it's all
What do
these
you look out
things.
for in every person that you meet?
What do I look out for? The point of connection. And this is what that's what's been amazing about these walks, that I've walked with people I know and people I've never met at all. But for me, what has come out is how beautifully connected we are. We might like the same movie type genre, we might like the same, I don't know, we might have gone to the same school at one point. There's always something that connects us. And I think I've been, in my heart thinking how I wish we understood just how much more we have in common than we are different. The differences are amazing, but we have so much more. Would we be kinder? Would we be more empathetic? Would we be more understanding? Would we be more generous with our gifts if we understood that we're actually more connected than we are different?
Wow.
Yeah.
What is that one unique thing you find from all the people that you've worked with?
Oh my goodness. For the people that I've never met, I always applaud them for being brave, because I keep thinking, would I ever like see a random person and say, okay, I'm going to book, because I think 2-3 days ago somebody asked me, how do you trust a stranger? And I said, in the same way, is how do you guys trust me? Because you don't know where I'm going to lead you. You don't know me. You've never met me. So for me, it is just that capacity of curiosity, of being brave to say, I will do something new.
I must admit, you're so curious. Even when you walked in here,
I am.
you said,
I own it.
Can I first walk around? I love your
know,
curiosity.
I know.
And one thing that leads us to where we want to go is the curiosity.
Yes,
If
it
you are not
is.
curious, man, you can't learn.
You stagnate.
You can't learn.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how far do you walk?
So, of course, it depends on the pace of a person. We are not all.
Do you plan your
some will tell you,
destination?
Jackie, I'm not a walker. I'm saying, it's okay. It's not about my pace. It's about your pace, right? Because I'm walking with you. You're my guest. So I can't be running and leaving you. Then it would kill the purpose of walk, talk, connect. So it is your pace. There are some that I try and encourage. No, you can go faster. But otherwise, I usually let it go. I usually give a minimum of an hour. Sometimes it stretches to an hour and a half. If I have time, maybe 2. And I've stopped making it about how long are we going to walk in terms of kilometers. It's no, when I'm giving you an hour, whatever we will have done after an hour or an hour and a half, we will wrap it up at that.
So is this something that you've decided to do every day?
Like I said, for as long as, so many things have to come together. I walk every day. So whether or not I'm walking with a person, I walk every day.
You walk every day. Interesting.
Granted. So walking with a person, sometimes it depends on the backlog. I know that I have anywhere, most times in the range of 15 people that I need to get through. And as you're getting through those 15, others are coming on, in. Right? So for me, it is that constant, how do I walk with all the people who desire to walk with me? That's what keeps me going.
What I might say, keep doing what you're doing.
Oh,
You're getting us to understand these people more. Especially, you had a walk with Daniel Omara. the comedian. I didn't know much about him. I've never met him in person, but I read his story and I'm like, oh, okay. There's a guy you worked with in the ghettos. And I commend you for being brave.
Yes,
man.
Yes. See, and that's the other thing that I've enjoyed about this, that because I also know that I have an audience that may never walk with me, so it's also thinking, how can I bring them into the walk? But also, how can I know my environment around me? So I also try and make sure that we're walking in interesting places, in places that people wouldn't ordinarily walk through themselves, but it's like, come and join us on this walk and see it through our eyes. And then just finally, because even in the writing, I have to be cautious, because when people give you their stories, in a sense, you've become a custodian of that story, and some things are to be shared in public, and other things were just for you, right? And so it is the wisdom to know, this is what I can share from what Chris and I spoke about, and this is what I retain. But also that you also can't tell the story of a whole hour, so really it's me picking out my highlights. If Chris writes about it, I'm sure he would write about something else. If somebody else were walking out, so it is also for people to understand, this is what I have chosen to share with you. And that's what makes writing powerful, because when you are the author, it is such power, because you determine narrative. And going back to where we started, the reason why stories are important, because there's a lot of power in story.
True. And I must commend that you have an amazing production team.
Yes,
Let them know this.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I see their camera shots. It's called Ronnie?
Yes, it's called Ronnie.
Ronnie is doing an amazing job, honestly speaking. The shots when you guys are walking, the places that you go to. He's a good guy.
Amen.
Very good guy.
Amen.
Now, I've heard about these things of purpose and calling. I've heard about so many times.
Yes.
And I must say that you're living your purpose.
I hope so.
How did you know that your purpose was calling?
So Chris, we come from an era, at least, so my father is an Anglican priest. So in the times when I was much younger, in my early childhood, when someone was called, there was the assumption that they left whatever they were doing in the marketplace and went to become ordained, because that's what calling meant, right? Managa.
Yep.
And but I think as the church has evolved and learned, because that's where I learned calling about, it was then to say, no. God has given us such a multiplicity of passions, of interests, of curiosities, that it is not only for those that are ordained. And so in a sense, for me, I think I came into work life with this moment where it is so open, you can do anything. So I can be a lawyer, and that is my calling. And so how I do it, how I do my lawyering, how you do your storytelling, how Ronald does his story capturing through behind the camera, like all of that is imbued with, can be imbued with purpose, right? And calling didn't only mean, was not only exclusive to people of the cloth. So I'm glad that we live in that era with that understanding. So that is one. But two, that I was in, when I was in St. Francis, where my father served, as a church, we collectively read and studied in cell group, The Purpose-Driven Life. And so, again, it was that re-echoing of the fact that each life has a purpose. So find it, because it is in finding it that you actually live
it.
Not just live it, but that you actually live. You yourself find fulfillment in living out your purpose. And so with that understanding that calling is as broad as I can think it, and that my life truly has a purpose, I sat down behind our kitchen as an S6 leaver waiting to go into university and said, God, I want to become a lawyer, but show me for what.
Okay.
Yeah. that was how I came to mine. And people come upon their callings in very many different ways. Very many different ways. I always tell the story of my son, Jeffrey, who is studying to be a pilot, and how as young as 3-4 years old, he was always fascinated by the sky, by air travel. And that's what he's doing now. And I always say, that how amazingly God planted that seed even when he was that young, and that he always, it stayed with him that long until he's finally studying it. So like I said, that what are you curious about? People always ask, how can I find my passion? What are you curious about? What disturbs you? What makes you angry? Because sometimes that is where your purpose is, that you need to fix that thing that makes you angry, right? There's a reason why you are annoyed that flies don't live for 70 days. And so maybe yours is, the study of insects. And that is absolutely you, right? So what is the thing that you're curious about? What is the thing that makes you absolutely angry? Or what is the thing that just absolutely brings you joy and deep happiness? So and I think as I've also honed in on purpose, so my purpose at the time was be a voice.
A voice.
And as I have matured over the years, it was, so I first fixated on being a voice for women and children's rights. And I started out my legal career in FIDA and, going out to tell women about their rights and being a lawyer and all those things. But as I walked further away from that, I started to think about, okay, in this season, what am I supposed to use my voice for? Yes. And that may change, but the running thread is voice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now how do you make money?
How do I make money? If I tell you, I must shoot you. I'm in the mob. Anyway, no. How do I make money? I run a company called CivSource Africa.
Okay.
And so we get our money through grants. We raise money from grants. We also have a few products that we sell where people cost share, which also helps us raise income. That is how we get paid. Yeah.
Let's speak about CivSource. It's one of the things that, like I said from the introduction, for people who are running nonprofits, the biggest challenge that we face, I am one of them.
Yes.
Even as I am asking, I'll be learning.
Yes.
One, you discover your purpose, and you need to push a helping hand to so many. In the beginning, you use your own resources. But at the end of the day, you mobilize community.
Yes.
To collect whatever they have so that you provide solution to the available problem. As a coach, I read your profile. You're giving you're extending a helping hand to nonprofits to help them on how to mobilize resources. How do they do it?
Oh my. So I think the interesting thing that I'm learning is we're also very skilled differently when it comes to raising money. There are some people who raise resources just by the way they write, right? And they're amazing at writing proposals. I am not one of those. I had to learn that my way of raising money is relationship building.
Okay.
Yeah. And often that is a bit slower, but truly it is friend raising. For me, others raise it it's through many ways. Others, raise through, like you said, community. I know friends, so every month I convene them. I've shared my idea, and I've gotten people who can, consistently give. Because I think that's what we're often looking for. What is that consistent source of resource that can continuously power the work that we do? So that's why leaders have to be good storytellers, right? Because you're the one who has to sell this story of your purpose, right? It might be so burning in your heart, but if you're not good at telling the story, so we must understand how storytelling also contributes to our raising resources. So when we walk the journey with leaders about raising resources, we take them through 5 modules. First of all, know yourself, to grow yourself, because you are also integral in how resources are raised. And if you don't know yourself, that can be challenging. Know your money.
Know your money.
To grow your money.
Know your money to grow your money.
Yes, because we do need to have the money smarts, right? What taxes are you supposed to pay? Have you filed them? What relationship do you have with URA or with whatever tax body is out there? Do you know about budgeting and planning? What kind of relationship do you have with your finance person or whoever helps you do the books? What understanding do you have of books, of how to read, the financials? But also we even first start with, what are your own money manners? Because sometimes we bring those money manners, our personal money manners, into how we run institutional money. We talk about brand, know your brand to grow your brand. Because like I said, storytelling, you are, for good or for bad, the face, right? So as the face of the institution, what story are you telling? Do you know how to tell your story? What is that story? How do you continuously hone the story and the ways that you're telling the story? Know your people to grow your people. Because, and I know very often leaders are broken by trying to raise money by themselves, but sometimes you might have an amazing person who knows how to raise money. But if you don't know that person, so how do you get to know your team? How do you empower your team? How do you take them along on this resource raising journey? Because I think we also came from an era, unfortunately, where it was only the leader that spoke to donors, met with, like, the rest of you were detached. You just waited to do the work and ask for your salary at the end of the day. I often tell my team, guys, I'm not breaking alone. We are doing this together. So whatever room you are, do you know how to talk about us? Do you know how to tell our story? What story of us are you telling? And how are you selling? Because it's a constant selling game. Selling game. And then the last one, we talk about legacy.
The legacy.
What footprint do you want to leave? What footprint does your organization want to leave? And how all of these are connected as part of raising resources. Yeah.
It's quite huge.
It is.
But thank you so much for allowing me to sit at your feet to learn this. And I'm sure even who is watching this, if you're running a non-profit, this is a good lesson for you. At the end of the day, you need resources to survive and also sustain your vision and your story.
And then finally, we need partnerships. And I think you mentioned it a bit, that you can't go this journey alone. And so I also often encourage my team, so what partnerships are we in? But are we also a good partner when we are partnering with others? Because I know people have experienced partnerships where you come out more bruised than you went in, right?
I know.
So partnerships are important for resource raising, but when you're in that partnership, what kind of partner are you? How are you treating others? Are you doing meeting your end of the bargain, right? Are you showing up when you need to, and are you doing the work?
Thank you so much. Now, let's go into the rapid questions. No, don't worry.
Okay, should I call my lawyer?
No.
Should I call my
It's not
lawyer?
a courtroom.
Oh Lord. Okay, Lord.
Feel free. What you don't
Auntie,
feel
when
like
you say
answering.
rapid, I say pass. Okay, pass all of them. Next.
How do you describe your childhood background?
How do I describe my childhood?
Or neighborhood?
Hey, but I had so many. You see, that's an unfair question because remember, I'm Ndimwana Omwaule. Today we are here. Another day they've posted your father Yiri Muji. Then so which one?
Okay, the most profound.
Difficult. So the most profound was Makerere University, where my dad was chaplain for 19 years. Makerere. Now that I go to it now, I'm like, all of this was our compound. But I don't know why in that time we thought of it as, I wish I had as an expansive a view then, because maybe would I have experienced it differently. But at the same time, I appreciate it as we had many fathers and mothers and many siblings. We were just a beautiful community. So any lecturer you met was your parent. Any lecturer's child was your sibling.
Wow. How did it feel to be a child of a reverend?
My dad was cool. So I guess we didn't have that same pressure as if he were maybe slightly different, slightly more. I enjoyed my life. I enjoyed because the thing I loved about Dad was, yes, we absolutely participated alongside him in ministry. So we sang in the choirs. My sister taught Sunday school. My brother was the one running the cables in the church. Like, we were involved. I was acting with my sisters. My brother was playing keyboard. Church for us was an extension of home.
Your guilty pleasure?
Chocolate. You people will be the death of me anyway. You guys, I love, moreover, Lindt chocolate. It's not any other brand. Lindt dark chocolate. It either has to be the orange one or caramel with sea salt, or the one with just sea salt. I mean, oh Lord, you people, it takes you to heaven and back. Yeah, it's my guilty pleasure. Plus books. Oh my goodness, I cannot. Yeah, I always walk into a bookstore and I tell myself, Jackie, focus. You came for one book, and then I leave with a caviar. And
Can I borrow that? Can I?
As your guilty pleasure, eh? Oh my goodness. Oh, you people, books.
No
Anyway,
wonder there's no shortage of wisdom in what I'm saying. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So what don't people know about you?
Hey, but that's a hard one. Like, on short notice, what don't people know about me? I like to be alone.
You're kidding me.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
See?
No.
Truly.
Really?
I am
Really?
I am such an introvert.
But no.
I have to wear, and I think I wear it well, hopefully.
You're kidding me,
what
Jackie.
what is called an ambivert, right? When we need to put it on, we wear it, but otherwise, our best place to charge and recharge is alone.
Shockingly, sometimes I
love
also
to be
love
alone.
my space.
I love to be alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, I don't know if this one will pass or not.
So it feels like I need my lawyer. Yes.
So if Jackie Asimwe is not doing Jack Asimwe, what is she doing?
Like, who would I rather be, or who else do I aspire to be like?
Okay.
Okay, the one that comes off the top of my head, and again, maybe I fell in love with her because of her storytelling acumen. Oprah Winfrey. I've always followed her. There's a time that I did not miss the Oprah show. I was always an ardent watcher, and just maybe that's how
Did you watch the one she did for Kamala Harris?
No, I didn't watch that one. No, I no longer watch because I liked my TV set and anyway. But no, maybe now thinking back to it, maybe that's part of the seed of Walk Talk Connect, because there I was watching this woman have guest after guest, afternoon after afternoon. Who knows? I've just thought of it right now. But yeah, if I could, I was telling Ronald just before we came to the set that if I could, I think I'm starting to enjoy being able to tell stories, and I'm thinking,
Do you know you could be the African Oprah Winfrey? I see that seed in
but
you.
it has to have travel. I don't know that I would just sit in a place. Like, we have to be going somewhere.
Maybe God will provide. Choose to take it on.
Amen, my brother. I receive. I've even the anointing.
Please take it on. So what is that thing that people get wrong about you?
What do they get wrong about me? Maybe. So I'm generally a very easy person to get along with, but when I am annoyed, and so I think people can't. What is it called? Can't reconcile that this person who we always like. Guys, I'm also human. I also get annoyed. I also quarrel. So I It's again, the Walk Talk Connect has been interesting because I meet people who tell me, I follow your walks. And I'm like, God, I cannot any longer have bad manners in this city because I don't know who will be. Like, but I know that girl. That's how she is. And it's like, guys, understand that I'm also human. Not that that's a justification for bad manners, but if you catch me in that moment, understand I'm human.
You're human. So it's from that point I want to know, short-tempered or even-tempered?
Teacher, what is the difference? What's the difference?
Are you short-tempered? Or
and when you say even-tempered, what do you...
Even-tempered, like... You can tolerate.
You know what? It depends. For lateness, oh my goodness. So it depends what the thing is
about.
And because I told you, for me, time is such a resource that if you do not understand that, I'll cut my wire. And then there are other things which I'm like, nah, but I'm getting annoyed. You had better, like it will build. I will leave, So I think it depends. It depends. Things like, I'm a very neat person, Banange. I cannot stand sloppiness. So there are things that I know for which I am short-tempered, and there are others for which I'm even-tempered.
You cannot tolerate. Okay. Another one. What is that one thing?
Okay.
I have only two. We're just trying
because
to get
I must
to know
also
you.
rapid fire you. Yes.
Hey, you
yes,
came here to answer questions.
Oh my goodness. Walk Talk Connect. I am going to you wait. I alone know the plans I have
Does
for you.
that mean I have an invitation?
Our first one, we must walk. Anyway.
What is that one thing you grew up thinking like maybe life is like this? Then you grow up and you're like, oh, it's different. Oh my God.
So when we were growing up, my dad was always in meetings. I was like, man, I want to grow up and also be in meetings, not knowing. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know why we had this fascination of he goes for meetings, right? And it sounds, because all you do is school, eh? So, you're doing homework and what? So meetings sounds like this big thing that adults do. Then you become an adult and you're just like, can you people please stop calling me for meetings? Leave me alone. Yeah.
So
but that was a fascinating thing somehow. Meetings, yeah.
Let's sum it up. What is life?
What is life? But why do you ask those hard questions?
I think I had really. We passed this.
Yeah.
Okay, for
what
you.
Is life?
What is life for
what
you?
Does that even? What is life?
To me, life is being humble. Humility. It's key.
Okay.
It's key.
The same answer.
Same.
No, what came to mind was just the ability to be.
The ability to be. That's a good one.
And even as I say that, I know that unfortunately there are people by circumstance of birth, by circumstance of the political place they are born, context, like there's so many things that actually restrain people from being, right? And that is heartbreaking. That's why we need, advocates for justice, for good governance, for all these things, for all the, for stories that are unheard and untold. Like, life is to be lived. Life is hopefully the place where you can just be.
More like humility. I'd like you to look into this camera.
Yes.
This is why you're going to speak to your people.
Into
those below you.
Oh.
Because we believe in transforming followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change.
Okay.
You are the position where you have come up with a book and more are coming. You are a leader at Civ Space.
Civ Source,
rather,
yes,
sorry.
Yes.
And there are those below you, and even those below you have others below them, meaning you are an agent of change, which I must say thank you for honoring my invitation. So speak to the followers and the leaders below you. What makes Jackie Asimwe?
One of the disciplines that I didn't talk about is gratitude. And I think for me, that is one of the things that has made me. And gratitude for what we assume are the small things. One of the things I learned when I was in COVID, when I started walking, was to literally stop and feel the environment around me and just be grateful that I could see a sunset, because there are people who are blind right now, that I could touch and feel a petal, and to know that this petal feels different from that petal. This green is very different from this green. Like, to start, I think gratitude has enabled me to see and appreciate the small things, and to see and appreciate the big things, and take none of them for granted. So if you ask me what makes me, the practice and discipline of gratitude. And I am grateful abundantly for every platform that I have been given to speak about my life, such as this. For this, I am absolutely grateful. What are you grateful for? And how can you turn gratitude into a discipline?
Wow. Wow. I love that. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. May God bless you abundantly.
Amen.
May He fill you and fill you and fill you and fill you.
Amen.
The more He fills you, the more we tap from that. I cannot say more than that. But may God bless you.
Thank you.
I pick gratitude from what you have said. Actually,
you.
the entire conversation we have had, I pick one thing: gratitude.
Amen.
If anyone is going through some hardship,
Yes.
touch your heart.
Yeah.
Is it beating?
Yes.
If it's beating, oh, say
Gratitude.
thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
And we always have something to be grateful for.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Whatever mountain we are climbing.
True. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you, Chris.
Friends, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Still, if it's your very first time here, kindly go ahead and subscribe. For those of you that resonate with this kind of conversation, elevating people from one place of leadership into agents of change, transforming followers into leaders, please come through. Let's have a conversation. In any way, let's have a conversation. I want to recommend this amazing book, Facing Mountains by Jacqueline Asimwe. Please, it's a must read.
Yes, it is.
It is a must read. Lastly, how much does it go for?
Only 85,000 shillings.
85.
But in bookstores, there'll be a markup because of tax.
Okay. Yes. Interesting. But at 85, you can have it, even online. Thank you so much. Please kindly go ahead and purchase this book. Read it. You won't be the same. And I can confirm to you, friends, that every time you read a book, you are never the same. Never. Because she has poured her heart into this book. You'll live the kind of life she's living, even beyond. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. May the good Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be with you until we meet in another video. But
and Rebecca and Sarah. Anyway.
Hey, Rebecca and Sarah will never you. Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Until another video, friends. Bye-bye.